detective stories, an autobiography, a novel, Monday Musings. Usually in the summer, I try to pick up a novel or a collection of short stories or something like that. So, since we're approaching a holiday weekend, I figured I would just give you some possible things that you might want to read either this week or over the summer. The first is a collection of short stories by G.K. Chesterton. If you don't know, he's one of the most prolific authors of the 20th century. He lived in England and he converted to Catholicism and had much to say about the Catholic faith and about Christianity in general. He wrote, one of the kind of unique things that he wrote was this collection of short stories that are called the Father Brown stories. And basically, it follows the life of this mysterious priest called Father Brown, who basically goes on to solve issues like murders and, robberies and all other sorts of things. So it's kind of a unique perspective of seeing a Catholic priest actually solve crimes, and they're all short stories, so they're very easy to read. So in the parish library, we actually have a sampling of some of, he wrote a whole bunch of them. There's a sampling of some of those short stories, so if you want to get that from the parish library, and I'll include links for all these books if you want to purchase any of them. Another one is an autobiography. It's called A Severe Mercy, probably one of the best books I ever read, and it's about how marriage led this particular couple to convert to Christianity. And basically, they were agnostic and they fell in love with each other, as couples do. They eventually got married and they were very open to beauty and they were very passionately in love with each other. And it was through this love that they eventually began to give a look towards Christianity. And because of their love for one another and even the influence of C.S. Lewis, who was a Christian apologist, they found their way to the faith. They lived during both world wars, and they would eventually convert to Christianity through the sacrament of marriage that they had with one another. And so I actually don't have this, so I couldn't look through it again. I just remember it being a very powerful read that I looked at some time ago. And so if you're looking for something to read this summer, I certainly would recommend that. And the final one, it's a novel, probably one of the best novels I've ever read in my life. It's called Brideshead Revisited, and it's by Evelyn Waugh, who was also an English author. And I actually came across this because of George Weigel, who wrote this other book called Letters to a Young Catholic. And in his book, Letters to a Young Catholic, George Weigel would take, some places of interest in the Catholic faith and then talk about the uniqueness of that place and Catholicism. And one of the places he went to was England, and he talked about Brideshead Revisited. And it's this story that follows the main character in the story is a non-believer, similar to A Severe Mercy. And as he's a non-believer, he comes in contact with this Catholic family. And as he comes in contact with this Catholic family, he basically is led to a point of conversion in his life. And so it's kind of a unique book that blends, Catholicism with ordinary everyday life. And so it really does show the power of a Catholic family to influence those who are not Catholic. And it is for a more mature audience. There are some, themes that are dealt with, lust, things like that. So there are some kind of unique things in that book. It's probably one of the best books I ever read. And I'll just read you one little excerpt that talks about the Catholic faith in a very profound way, and it's about how this couple wants to be together, but the woman in the couple is the one who's Catholic, and she realizes she can't be with this person because of her Catholic faith. So in the book we read, "How can I tell you what I shall do? You know the whole of me. You know I'm not one for a life of mourning. I've always been bad. Probably I shall be bad again, punished again. But the worse I am, the more I need God. I can shut myself out from His mercy. I can't shut myself out from His mercy. This is what I would mean. This is what it would mean, starting a life with you without Him. But I saw today there is one thing unforgivable. The bad thing I was on the point of doing that I'm not quite bad enough to do, to set up a rival good to God's. It may be a private bargain between me and God that if I give up this one thing I want so much, however bad I am, He won't quite despair of me in the end." I had to kind of just pick some sections, so that's why it was a little tough to read. And if you read the book yourself, it's a very powerful read, and it's really about sin, conversion, redemption, grace. So I'd encourage you to pick that up. And also, if you're maybe more inclined towards movies, sometimes when they adapt, a book towards a movie, sometimes it doesn't always, not always accurate to the book. There was in 1981, and you can get this on Amazon Prime Video, there was a film made for TV adaptation of Brideshead Revisited. And basically what it did was it just kind of took the book and then put it in film form. So it wasn't really adapting much. So these are just some things I might encourage you to read. The Father Brown stories are excellent short stories. Again, we do have a copy of that in the library. The Severe Mercy talks about the power of the sacrament of marriage and the power of love to bring people into the faith. And also Brideshead Revisited, which shows how an unbeliever coming in contact with a Catholic family, even though this Catholic family has their own struggles, how that really does affect others. So, just some Monday musings. See you soon, St. Catherine's.